Lights for discussion. All those in favor of approving this ordinance, including suspending the rules for introduction and action, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Alderman Ruth Simmons, can you do A21, please?
Yes. A21, Local Liquor Commission recommends City Council adoption of Ordinance 86018, amending Evanston City Code subsection 346C to increase the number of Class C liquor licenses from 23 to 24 and permit issuance of a Class C license to Terranio Bat 17 located at 1709 Benson. This is for introduction and action.
We have a second?
Second.
All right, second. All right, again, this is suspending the rules, so we have to vote on these individually. All those in favor of passing A21, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Alderman Sufferman, A22.
A22 is ordinance 87018, decreasing the number of Class R liquor licenses for Sodexo America LLC, doing business as Northwestern University Norris Center, located at 1999 Campus Drive. This is for introduction and action.
Second.
Second. All right, seeing no lights for questions, all those in favor of moving this A22, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, A23, ordinance 88-0-18, increasing the number of Class R liquor licenses for Compass Group USA, doing business as Cartwell's, Northwestern University Norris Center, located at 1999 Campus Drive. The Liquor Commissioner recommends City Council adopt this ordinance, amending Evanston City Code subsection 3-4-6R to increase the number of Class R liquor licenses from 2 to 3 and permit issuance of a Class R license to Compass Group USA. Staff is recommending suspension of the rules for introduction and action tonight. And move approval.
Second.
Second. Seeing no lights for questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. A24, Alderman Braithwaite.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item A24 for introduction and action. This is ordinance 89-0-18, decreasing the number of Class T liquor licenses for Sodexo America LLC, doing business as Sodexo America, located at 1501 Central Street.
All right, second. No questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 825 is ordinance 90-0-18, increasing the number of Class T liquor licenses for Compass Group USA, doing business as Kurt Wells, located at 1999 Campus Drive. The Liquor Commissioner is recommending adoption of this ordinance, amending City Code subsection 3-4-6T to increase the number of Class T liquor licenses from 2 to 3 and permit issuance of a Class T liquor license to Compass Group USA, doing business as Cartwell's, located at 1999 Campus. Staff is recommending suspension of the rules for introduction and action. Move approval.
Second.
All right, no lights. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Alderman Ruth Simmons, 26, please.
A26, Local Liquor Commissioner recommends City Council adoption of Ordinance 91-018, amending Evanston City Code subsection 346T to increase the number of Class T liquor licenses from 3 to 4 and permit issuance of Class T license to Levy Premium Food Service Limited Partnership, DBA Levy, at Ryan Fieldhouse in Walter Athletic Center, located at 2255 Campus Drive. This is for introduction and action.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? All right, all those in favor of approving A27, please, A26, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, A27, Alderman Sufferman.
Item A27 is ordinance 95-018, increasing the number of Class D liquor licenses for Union Squared Evanston, located at 1307 Chicago Avenue. This is for introduction and action.
Second.
All right, seeing no lights, all those in favor of passing A27, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. A28 is ordinance 97-0-18, decreasing the number of Class A liquor licenses for Union Square Evanston, located at 1307 Chicago Avenue. Staff is recommending that we adopt this ordinance, amending Evanston City Code of 2012 subsection 3-4-6A as amended to decrease the number of authorized Class A liquor licenses from 1 to 0. Staff is recommending we suspend the rules and introduce and take action on this item tonight. I move.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Alderman Braithwaite, 29, please.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move for introduction and action item A29, ordinance 97-0-18, increasing the number of Class T liquor licenses for L3 Evanston LLC, doing business as Next Kinship, located at 1603 Orrington Avenue.
Second.
Second. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. We are now going to go back to the bills list as staff is here to answer my question. So I am going to reintroduce bills list September 11, 2018 in the amount of $9,557,054.09. So my question has to do with the 3 payments on the bills list going from April to July to MB Evanston Sherman Avenue. And my question is, I guess, why are we paying 4 months at a time? Was there a delay with us getting the invoice? Was there a delay with us paying? Just trying to get clarity on that topic.
Good evening, Erica Storley, Assistant City Manager. There was a delay receiving those bills, and so we combined them all and paid them all at once. This is for the payment of the custodial services at Maple Garage, correct?
Yes. I think Sherman Avenue Garage is
Sherman
listed.
Avenue Garage. Yes, so there's a retail component to the Sherman Garage, and we have a contract with them to handle cleaning a portion of the building. There's a separate maintenance contract, and that's handled by the management company for the retail areas. So we pay them for those services rendered.
Okay. So we didn't pay a late fee then?
No late fee.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So that was the only question I had. So I move approval of the bills list. Can I have a second?
just had-
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Alderman Braithwaite, have one more
It's
question.
not something specific, just Hitesh, quick question for you. I just made this comment at the last council meeting, and I want to make sure it's still on your radar the next time we see the credit card list, that we add the column that
Right,
for our
we are-
commodities that we'll see the cities so we understand where the money's going.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Yes, Alderman Braithwaite here. We are working on with the, it's like a third party where we, bank for the credit card. So, yeah,
Just adding another spreadsheet
Yes,
field.
yeah.
Perfect. And then also paying attention to
the account numbers.
the comments, that people are not just doing the generic drop downs.
Absolutely.
All right.
And I have, we have discussed this at our department head staff meeting too.
Thank you.
Using the right account numbers.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So it's been moved and approved. All those in favor of approving the bills list, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that carries. So now we're moving out of consent agenda to item A3. Alderman Sufferman, can you take us through A3, please?
A3 is a contract with Phelan Materials LLC for the 2018 leaf hauling and disposal season in an amount not to exceed $40,000, and this is for action.
Second.
Second. All right, no questions for this one, no discussion? All right, so all those in favor?
I just wanted to know if we checked locally. That was it.
All right, Director Stoneback, can you please answer that?
Good evening, Dave Stoneback, Public Works Director. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
No, I just wanted to know if we checked locally. I saw the winning bid driving from far out. Just if I understand this correctly, this is just scooping up the leaves and putting them in a truck and hauling them away, or did I misread this?
That is basically it, picking them up at the
Right.
park and driving them away. We just advertised the bid, and I don't know that we have any large trucking companies in
Okay.
Evanston, but these are the big trucks that haul out, and they have to make several runs a day.
Okay.
Per our agreement with the EPA, our transfer station leaves can only be on the ground for 24 hours. So
Okay.
when we need them removed, they need to get out right away.
In the past, did our city staff manage this, or has this always been a contract that I just didn't?
In the
pay
past,
attention to?
we've gone for contracts that were under $20,000, so they didn't come to council.
Okay, so that's why I didn't see it.
And then we wound up hauling a lot of leaves with our in-house staff.
Right.
This will allow us to be much more efficient, make sure we get all the leaves picked up.
Okay. Thank you.
So it was moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, another, okay, approving A3, aye. Any opposed? Okay. A4 is change order number 3 to the agreement of the treated water storage replacement project engineering services with CDM Smith. Staff's recommending City Council authorize City Manager to execute change order number 3 to this agreement in the amount of $22,040. This will increase the total contract from $1,328,730 to $1,350,000. $1,350,770. Funding is coming from the Water Fund, the Capital Improvement Account. This is for action.
Second.
All right, I actually have a question for this one. All right, Mr. Stoneback, so my question has to do, I understand we are replacing this. My question has to do with this change order. Looks like we are changing some things based on a request by Northwestern that seemed to me to have to do with some aesthetic concerns. Can you explain that more, please?
That is correct. So where the reservoir is located is on Northwestern property, and in order to get the easement to demolish and reconstruct a new building, we had to work with them and their team in meeting their request. It is a change of use. It used to be a parking lot on top, and they want to have more of a open space field there, and meeting their request and meeting the drainage requirements with the new building very close to this. We had to work all that out more or less at the end of the project as they started asking us to perform that work.
Okay, so we have to change this, sorry, I want to call it a water filter. What is it?
A treated water
Okay.
storage tank.
And we have to change this, right, for clean water and such?
Correct. The roof of the current structure is failing.
Okay, so then my question is, I guess I have some concerns about paying more money for aesthetic changes. I understand if you all come dig up my street at my house, you put it back to what it looked like. You replace the curb and so on and so forth. And as I would love to ask for more aesthetically pleasing things, I don't get that option. So I guess I'm concerned with something that we have to do that I understand is a Northwestern property, but then we're paying more because they want to change the use of the space now.
Well, it wasn't so much they want to change the use of the space. The IEPA will not allow to have a parking lot on top of a treated water storage facility anymore.
Okay.
So the top of it had to change. And then they brought up some good concerns about the appearance. I mean, they don't want it to look like an athletic field specifically either. So till we start getting some landscaping involved with it, those were the changes that took place. And then as you change and put some higher mounds in it, then you create some stormwater drainage problems. So we had to look at all that as well. We had some lighting in there that it wasn't, they asked for additional lighting that we felt was appropriate, and that's why we were adding it. So I guess the difference between the analogy you gave and this situation is Evanston owns the property where we do the street resurfacing. Northwestern owns the property where we're building this. And in order to get the easement approved, Evanston felt like we had to give some concessions to their request. We didn't give to all their requests.
All right, understood. Thank you. Any more questions for this item?
No.
All right, so we had a motion and a second for A4. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And I am going to be opposed, so I'm a no. All right, A7, Alderman Braithwaite, can you please read that one?
Sure, Madam Chair, I'd like to move item A7. It's emergency single source agreement with Johnson's Control for the replacement of a fire panels device for the Lorraine H. Morton Civic Center in the dollar amount of $108,497.
Second.
All right, seeing no lights for questions, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving A7, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. A9, Alderman Bruce Simmons, can you please read that one?
Yes, thank you. A9, staff recommends City Council authorize a sole source purchase of Cisco SmartNet networking licenses and software from CDW in the amount of $47,509.25. This contract provides support for the city's essential computer networking system and covers the period September 15th, 2018 through September 15th, 2019. CDW is the current state bid contract provider for these services as of September 2018. Funding is provided by the IT Division, Computer Licensing and Support Fund, which has a total budget of $500,000 and a year-to-date balance of $125,765. This is a 13% reduction from the previous agreement. This is for action.
Second?
Set.
Seeing no lights for questions, all those in favor of approving item A9, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, A11, Mr. Sufferton, please.
A11 is the purchase of 3 Divvy stations from Motivate International in the amount of $33,991.96. This is for action.
Second.
Second, all right, thank you. We have a presentation.
All right, good evening, Johanna Leonard, Community Development Director. Jessica Heinck couldn't be with us tonight. She's at home waiting the arrival of her firstborn, doctor's orders. So she's watching from home, so wave hello. We're here to talk about Divvy. We're going to ask for three considerations tonight. The first is the extension of the agreement with our bicycle ride-sharing provider, Motivate, for an additional 3 years. The second is the opportunity to purchase 3 stations for a deeply, deeply discounted price from Oak Park. And then approval of an agreement to share revenue with Chicago Department of Transportation for advertising and other new revenue. I want to underscore this last point. When I was last before you to talk about this item, what we heard from the council was find new ways to fund this, find new ways to expand new riders, and increase the accessibility of this program. So I think we through these 3 items we've moved forward on that. How does Divvy work? So I am not a representative of the company. We actually have Michael Kritzen here as well from Motivate to talk a little bit about Divvy. So I'll just give a broad brush stroke of the overview here. A full price membership is $99. We have a program, and I'll get into it a little bit later in the presentation, Divvy for every Evanstonian. If you are income eligible, you can get a $5 membership to Divvy for an entire year. A single ride, if you're not a member, is $3 per trip, and those rides are for rides under 30 minutes. You can get what's called an Explorer Pass, which is $15 a day. This is generally geared more towards tourists or people who want to get around the city, similar to the CTA or Pace Metro, where there's passes geared for people who are using for an intense period of time but don't need a full-blown membership. And then, as I said, the annual membership. They're currently in Evanston. There are just north of 1,000 members, 1,170 active members as of last month. And then since its inception in June 2016, we've had about 6,732 what are called casual riders. So any of us who don't have memberships, we take a ride, that counts. So, but if we take multiple rides, that doesn't count. This isn't unique riders. This is all rides in total. How does Divvy work? We did bring along a video to show you how to unlock a Divvy bike. One of the things we've learned as we've moved forward on this item is a lot of people don't know how to unlock a bike, and they don't want to appear as though they don't know how to unlock a bike, because Divvy is a cool thing. You don't want to seem like you don't know how to do the cool thing. So the unlocking and undocking of a bike has been a bit of a hurdle. So Jessica has visited ward meetings, community events with Motivate to help demonstrate how to unlock a bike so people can get that tactile experience of doing that. The average length of a ride in the Divvy system is about 20 minutes. So it's really to get from point A to point B. You get off the train, you need to get someplace relatively quickly. You don't want to walk. There's not a bus. You want to ride a bike. That's what that trip for Divvy is utilized. It's not one of the things we've heard as we've talked to different groups, and Jessica's been on the the trail of talking to different people about how to use Divvy, we've heard a lot of people, oh, I rented a bike when I was in Martha's Vineyard. I really liked it when I was here. And they name it a vacation spot, and they're not necessarily thinking about this being, this is like a bus transfer. This is a piece of your transportation trip, not something that people are necessarily doing for recreation. You certainly can do that for recreation, but that's not what it's designed to do. So Divvy in 2018, we continue to see growth in the city. Our annual memberships grew by 10% since last year, and the rides in Evanston, 16% increase in trips as compared to last year. This map depicts all those 1,100 members and where they're generally located, and just restates that number I mentioned before about the rides that have started in Evanston since 2016. I was asked for a table of Divvy ridership by stations. This might be hard to read, but it should be posted on the webpage if you want to take a deeper dive. Also, all of the data on Divvy is available through our openevanston.org open data portal. So you can download this information, lots of different tables and charts that you can really do a deep dive into these. So these numbers are all trips that started or ended at these particular stations. Even a harder to read table, but again, it's on the website. This is by month. So you can see in the colder months, riding your bicycle is a little bit less popular mode of transportation. But certainly the summer, spring, summer, and hopefully we have a strong, lovely fall that will continue to see good, strong rider numbers. So Divvy for Every Evanstonian, as I mentioned, it launched about 3 weeks ago. We've been seeing pretty regular signups at different community centers for new riders. 8 may seem like a small number, but that's pretty strong considering we've done a press release, been at a few events, and have been getting the word of mouth out about this opportunity. You don't need a bank account, you don't need a credit card or smartphone, you just need $5. And if you can qualify if you can demonstrate you get reduced beach tokens, you qualify for lunch, those other income eligible programs, we will enroll you in the Divvy for Every Evanstonian program. We've been getting helmet donations. We get vouchers from businesses that sell bike helmets in the community. And so if you register, we are giving somebody a voucher. They can then visit a store and get fitted properly for a helmet, so we can make sure that you're riding safe as well. And this is no cost to the city. We're not providing any additional subsidy. This is a program that Motivate has. So recap for the items for consideration. The extension of the agreement. I'm actually going to ask Michael to come up and talk a little bit about extending the agreement for 3 years, and some of the things that we talked about last time were dockless bikes, and then an item that wasn't even on our radar last year, which was the partnership between Motivate and Lyft.
Michael, before you get going, I realized that these are a couple different items on our agenda, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce them and move them so we can be doing the right legal thing. So A4 is change order number 3 to the, A12 is a 36-month contract extension with Motivate International to continue operation of Divvy bicycle sharing system. And that is for action. Can I get a second? And then A13 is resolution 67-R-18 memorandum of understanding the City of Chicago Department of Transportation to seek approval to share revenue in the Divvy sponsorship agreement. That is for action. Can I have a second? Second. Okay, thank you. So go ahead, Michael.
Hi, everyone. Michael Kritzen from Motivate, General Manager of Divvy here in Chicago. Thanks, Johanna. That was a great introduction to everything we're talking about. I just want to talk about a couple things on this slide that I think are exciting and that we have coming up. And really the two photos here kind of illustrate what we're talking about. And these are really just two potential opportunities should you choose to explore those in the future. The bike there on the left is a truly dockless bike, or what we're thinking of a dockless bike now with a wheel lock in the back. This is a Motivate bike operated by Motivate in North San Jose. And then these bikes are also actually launching in Minneapolis as of tomorrow. 1,500 bikes, and so they're real and they're launching. And the bike there on the left or on the right has not yet launched anywhere, but it's actually a brand new bike that we're working on now, and it's more of a hybrid bike that is has a. I'm sorry, you can't really see it real well, but there's a blue cable along the rear fender there, and it will wrap around. You can lock it to any bike rack, and then there's also a triangle on the front so it could lock into an existing dock-based system. These things are really exciting because you don't need other apps or other accounts. They can all be done within the same account. And to be clear, I don't think it's my opinion that docks aren't going away. As mentioned, there is a deal that's been announced between Lyft and Motivate, not closed yet, but both Lyft and Motivate are of the opinion that bike share at scale really works best when it's dock-based. But when you have these other products to complement a dock-based system, it can really help to round out a system. And the other thing that I just want to briefly touch on is the Lyft deal that is forthcoming. Really, I think the most exciting thing about it is that if you imagine this world where folks that currently will log into the Lyft app because they're looking for a ride, they will suddenly see bike share stations and available bikes, and that will suddenly become a very real option for a lot more people than what currently is. So that's something that we're very, very excited about.
So the purchase of the additional stations. As you know, last year Oak Park ended their offering of divvy in their community, and there was a big question of what would happen to the stations that they had. So several of them have been scooped up by the City of Chicago, not a surprise, so they can continue to grow their system. But we have been offered 3 stations to purchase for Evanston at a total price for 3 stations for $33,991.95. And Motivate has even waived, they want us to buy these so badly, they've even waived the installation fee. So that is a true cost, $33,991.95. And we have the one station, a single station, if we were to add it to the system, would be $55,000, just one station, but we get 3. And our proposal for where these stations would be located, the map on the left is the existing 11 stations, and the map on the right shows the addition of 3 stations. And our goal in locating these was, one, to find them in places that were locations where you might be beginning or ending a trip, and also where we could continue to build corridors. So while we would like the whole map to be yellow, which indicates from a point a little bit more than a quarter mile of a walking distance, which is generally the industry understood amount of space, distance somebody would walk, we also needed to make sure that we could have stations in places where trips would be generated and they're on corridors. So you build the corridor along the rail where people are often going to or getting off, then they can travel to places further west, further north. So the 3 station locations are here at the Civic Center, the Levy Center, and then the West Central Business District. We know in that particular location, we know a lot of people struggle to get to their place of employment. They look for parking in the neighborhood. This could present a new opportunity for people to take the rail, take the CTA to Central Street, and get on a divvy bike and travel west to Central Street, and then make that return trip in the evening. We're not required to put them there. This is staff's suggestion of where to put them to continue to build the system. Last item, approval of an agreement with revenue sharing with Chicago DOT. So I'm going to take you through 3 slides. There's some tables, so I'm going to sort of flip back and forth to explain how we generated some assumptions. So right now, when you think of a divvy bike, you think it's a blue bike and there's the Blue Cross Blue Shield logo. When divvy was rolled out originally, this deal was only for the sponsorship of bikes by Blue Cross Blue Shield. They paid $500 per bike. All the money per bike that's generated through the advertising on each bike goes to the City of Chicago right now. That agreement ends May 2019. We've had staff has had conversations with the Chicago DOT about adding us, the City of Evanston, into that revenue sharing agreement. So they were early to market. $500 per bike is low now. Those sponsorships have grown nationwide to about, on average, $1,000 per bike. So if we had a system where we have 11 stations, 15 bikes, or 14 stations, if we buy those extra 3 stations, we're looking at, and we stick with it, a national average. We don't know. It could be $1,500. We're a strong market. You don't know. But let's say $1,000. It'd be between $110,000 and $140,000 of revenue. So the next slide I'm going to take, some of these are new revenue opportunities, so I'm just going to quickly go through these. Developer public benefits, we've had a couple developments that have included a cash contribution from the developer to support the divvy system. So depending if those projects go forward, that's about $10,000 to $20,000. So you'll see a column for low and a column for high. Station sponsorship, stations are currently sponsored by North Shore. We've assumed the low estimate is based on the rate staying the same for 14 stations. High estimate is if we increase that sponsorship a little bit. Dock wrap sponsorship, you might have noticed if you traveled through Chicago, on the docks, the physical docks, there's advertising. That's another piece that Chicago is willing to let us into, and that would add, that is a low assumption, 9,000 assumes just one station, 15 docks, and $50 per dock. But if we increase that a little bit, maybe we have more docks, maybe not every dock is wrapped, maybe some docks at some stations are wrapped, some aren't. So we made some conservative estimates between $9,000 and $18,000 for that. Ridership revenue, again, we were relatively conservative. $71,400 is based on a 14-station system, and $74,970 is if we saw we continue to see a conservative 5% uptick. That doesn't include the idea that all of a sudden all the people that have a Lyft app on their phone now have essentially a Divvy Motivate app on their phone, because that is what will happen when Lyft and Motivate combine. Bicycle sponsorship, again, that's this number that generates here, that $110,000 to $140,000. So you can look at the totals, $317,900 to $419,220 is where we're kind of landing in where our revenue could be. So just to remind you, this fiscal year's budgeted amount for Divvy was $304,000. So low estimate, high estimate on those 11 stations, even though this is 14 stations, we're getting close to covering this. So our straight cost here for 11 stations versus 14 stations ranges between $255,420 to 14 stations at $325,080. Our low revenue estimate for the 11 stations covers and some. Our low revenue estimate puts us slightly in the red, and then our high revenue has us generating close to $100,000. We don't think that we think we're going to land somewhere in between those low and high, but we wanted to share with you our very conservative approach to what this would be. I don't know if Michael, if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, and just to tack on to what Johanna says, I appreciate the fact that we're kind of looking at two extremes here, but I think with all the exciting things going on in bike share right now, with all the exciting things going on in the company, I would have a hard time believing that we would actually be in the low revenue area. I think it would be much closer to the high revenue estimate area.
So that's it. I put the 3 items that we're seeking approval from council. City manager wants to close this up.
And Madam Chair, if I will, we did a priority-based budgeting process. Divvy came in nearly dead last as the priority for spending city dollars. I went to the community development staff and said, if we're going to keep Divvy, we've got to find a way for us to cover our costs. And as Johanna has described, we feel very comfortable in doing that. This is only because of the fine work of Jessica Heineck working with the city of Chicago. So
We really feel that in the absence of this sharing agreement with the Chicago Department of Transportation, Divvy would not be able to continue. I would not recommend that we spend the dollars that we have been spending in the past. I think, though, this makes a lot of sense. I think buying those 3 stations will likely complete the network in Evanston for a while, and the costs associated with them are such a bargain that if we're going to stay in Divvy, I would wholeheartedly hope that we could pick up these 3 stations. But to be able to move forward, we've done what you've asked. We're going to make Divvy cover its costs. Again, we're all happy to answer any questions.
All right, so I have a couple questions. I don't see anyone else's light on. And these, sure. So I mentioned these in the Parking and Transportation Committee. While I'm excited just to see that we are forecasting Divvy paying for itself, I guess my concern is back to, you don't need to go back there, but the numbers, right? I mean, I know we're trying to increase Divvy, but, I also hear from a lot of people in South Evanston who we have these bike lanes and they're very tense in terms of people, not liking them, drivers and bikers. And then I think about, I have not heard us talk about putting in more bike lanes, and I understand people can ride bikes without bike lanes, but I do have a bit of a concern about people, putting more bikes on the street and not really having, designated bike lanes, marked bike lanes, kind of bike safety signage. I know we have put some signage up around different places. So I'm a little more concerned about kind of putting more bikes in and not really having the safest infrastructure all over the city. I guess my other concern, and I should have asked you this in advance, but I wanted to see a picture of the wrapping. I guess I just haven't paid attention to the station, so I could do that on my own time. But just how firm are these numbers? Are they, as soon as we sign the paper, we're pretty confident that these numbers are right? I mean, I just don't want to have this conversation next year where we realize the contract wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be.
Again, working with colleagues in Chicago, they feel very strongly. I think the first slide about the per bike is real. And so there are many communities, and the gentleman from Motivate could probably speak more to this. Motivate has operations in most of the large American cities. What are you seeing in other communities?
The $500 per bike is by far the lowest of any sort of sponsorship setup we have in any other cities.
So what's Citicorp paying in New York, for example?
I can't remember offhand what Citibank is paying, but I do know that Blue Cross Blue Shield in Massachusetts is paying $1,000 a bike.
So that's in Boston?
Yes.
And then DC, is Motivate have DC as well?
DC is not a sponsored system, so that's a different setup.
Any others off the top of your head?
For Nike in Portland pays about $1,200 a bike, I believe it is.
So if our numbers are based on low, medium versus high, we feel pretty confident. If for any reason this doesn't work in the future, we'll get out. But I think we're at a point now where either we need to say that we're going to find a system that find a funding mechanism that works, or we should get out, because I think the additional investment of the stations, it's becoming a part of the infrastructure of Evanston, and many people enjoy Divvy. I think we wouldn't want to go much longer and then think about pulling the plug. Again, I would not be here before you this evening if we did not have this cost-sharing agreement with Chicago.
Okay, so then my next question is, if we go forward with a 36-month contract with Motivate and the new stations, is our agreement, and I'm sorry I don't have it highlighted, but is our agreement with Chicago also 36 months?
I don't know that answer. I can check our MOU before City Council, but I would imagine we could have them travel at the same time period.
Okay, so, sorry.
The council we'll double check the language before it's at council, but if the council wanted to make that amendment, that would be certainly.
Okay, Alderman Ruth Simmons has a question.
Really a statement, I guess. Just really appreciate you working hard to figure out a way to reduce the cost to the city and also provide this service. I do think that there's special value in getting some of the cars off the road and what more bikes can do for our environment, and also giving another option for that last mile from from the public transportation. I would like a future station to be somewhere in the west end of the ward. I understand that Civic Center is in the 5th Ward, but if we have an option somewhere west, we have a bus corridor, and we could get downtown Evanston and over to Central and all the other places to connect to the stations. So I would ask that we prioritize in our future stations, if we move forward, a west end location.
So I'll chime in on that because I brought this up in parking and transportation as well. So the station that is, I think the one you're referring to that's at Simpson, I guess that's the Civic Center, I didn't realize that, but here at Simpson and Ridge, potentially maybe that one could be moved over to, Simpson and McDaniel, wherever that little gray spot is on your map up there. We still have a, pretty big gray spot, and where you have the new station going in at the Civic Center, it's already pretty yellow, right? Yellow is the closest distance to walking home or whatever. So I would say I would support if you wanted to move that station elsewhere, particularly now that we have the new bicycles out front for our city staff to use to go places. Maybe that would cut back on the need for a divvy station, an additional bike station here. So Alderman Simmons.
Dodge and Simpson is a great location, right at Twiggs Park.
I would just add, if we add the 3 stations, and we consider, as the city manager said, our system complete, we can look and see. I mean, one of the things that this map doesn't show is the density of population, and also get a good sense of how many cars are, what the car ownership is per household. So we could look at some of these things, and there may be other stations in the system that need some tweaking to be moved around to get to that west end coverage that we can think about relocating. So we can continue to study that.
Yeah, no, that'll be good. I mean, we even have students that are moving further west into the ward, so it would be nice to access the university campus as well for them.
And Northwestern has been a tremendous partner with us in this, and I think part of the success thus far has been Northwestern's partnership. Had they chosen to go a different way, I think that would have completely broke things up. I think their willingness to work with us and to work with the City of Chicago on this. Many communities are really struggling with what to do with their shared ride services, dockless versus not dockless. If you Google the word scooters in cities, it is chaos in some places. Southern California is really a mess, and really it's been the leadership of the City of Chicago to try to keep some order, to continue to support the work that Motivate and Divvy is doing, to respond to the changes that Motivate and to allow them to have that flourish really benefits not only Chicago residents but Evanston residents. So we can continue to tweak. It's easy to pick up and move these stations. We've done a little bit of that already, and we're committed to make this work for everyone.
Yes, Alderman Simmons.
I'd like to encourage further outreach for the Divvy for All. If you could, I know that you've done the ward meetings, you've been to ours, but even the faith community that gathers on Sundays would be a great place. There's several thousand residents that are at a couple dozen churches that are in the ward, and you can kind of scatter your day. There's early and late services. So if you could do that as well. And what's the age for Divvy?
18 or
18.
16 with parental consent.
Okay. I'm just going to continue to encourage more outreach. It's a wonderful program for $5. So if we could do more to get the word out, because from what I'm seeing, the community is still kind of unaware of it unless they've been to a ward meeting.
And we're less than a month in, so.
Okay, great.
All right, so seeing no more discussion, let's go ahead and vote item A11, the purchase of 3 Divvy bike stations from Motivate International in the amount of $33,991.96. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And I am going to oppose. A 36-month contract extension with Motivate International to continue operation of Divvy bicycle sharing systems. This is at no cost for action. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 I just would like to see more information about how long the contract would be, if you can. Sorry, this one I'll approve, but the next one's more. So 813 is Resolution 67-R-18, Memorandum of Understanding with the City of Chicago Department of Transportation to seek approval to share revenue in the Divvy sponsorship agreement for action. All those in
Second.
favor? Oh, we already seconded it. We're just.
Oh, we did, okay.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And if you could just bring back to council what term that contract would be, I would appreciate it. All right, so A16 is Resolution 59-R-18, approving intergovernmental agreement for the use of the Village of Winnetka Fire Training Tower. The staff is recommending council adopt this resolution authorizing city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Winnetka for limited use of their training tower for the Evanston Fire Department Community Engagement Programs. This is for action.
Second.
All right, seeing no lights for questions? Oh, sorry, Alderman Simmons. I must miss you.
That's an old light.
Oh, okay. All right, seeing no questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And I'll just, for the record, say I appreciate, thank you to Winnetka for allowing us the use of your fire tower. A17, Alderman Simmons, can you take that one, please?
Sure. A17, staff recommends approval of Resolution 70R18, authorizing the city manager to sign a resolution of authorization as part of an open space and land acquisition and development grant application to Illinois Department of Natural Resources for the Harbor Park renovation project. Although the city has been a past recipient of this grant, this is the first time in several years the grant program has been accepting applications. If awarded, funding for this project will be from a variety of funding sources already proposed for Harbor Park improvements in the 2019 budget, including 2018 Good Neighbor Fund, the Neighborhood Improvement Reserve Fund, and the 2019 General Obligation Bonds. This is for action.
Second. All right, seeing no lights for questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Alderman Sufferton, please take A18.
Item A18 is Resolution 66R18, an easement agreement with Northwestern University for replacement of underground water storage reservoir at Lincoln Street and Campus Drive. This is for action.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Alderman Braithwaite, A19.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item A19, ordinance 98-0-18, amending the city code section 7-2-6D, sidewalk cafes allowing Class K liquor licenses and sidewalk cafes. And this is for, sorry. And this one is going to be for introduction and action.
Second.
All right, seeing no lights for questions, all those in favor of passing A19, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? At 8:30 is ordinance 109-0-18, allowing extended hours of alcohol service for Z1 and Z2 liquor license holders through city council approval. The liquor commissioner is recommending we approve this ordinance extending Evanston City Code subsection 3-4-6Z1 and 3-4-6Z2 to allow for extended hours of liquor service for Z1 and Z2 liquor license holders through the city council. Alderman Revelle has asked that we suspend the rules and take this for introduction and action tonight. I move it. Thank you. Seeing no lights, all those in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Alderman Ruth Simmons, 31, please.
A31, staff submits for city council approval a request to extend alcohol service hours for one-day liquor events taking place at 1501 Central Street on September 8th, 2018, September 29th, 2018, and October 13th, 2018, October 27th, 2018, November 3rd, 2018, and November 24th, 2018, to accommodate game day events during the Northwestern University football game. This is for action.
Second.
Second. All right, I have a clarifying question, just for the sake of the record. So we see on here September 8th, and that's already passed, so can we just get some clarification from staff or from Northwestern or whoever's here on behalf of this request?
Good evening, Chairwoman, Council members. My name is Mike Polisky. I'm the Deputy Athletic Director for Northwestern.
Okay. So I guess my question is just for clarification, since we're looking to approve this tonight, but it has a date on here that's already passed. So,
They weren't able to, I weren't able to serve alcohol, but go ahead.
Yeah,
So-
no, it was just, those were all the home events for the season, and the reason we were asking for this particular exemption is because we do not know the times of the games. We just listed all of the home events, and yes, a couple of them have already passed.
okay, so I guess I'm not, all right, thank you.
That's it?
I guess I'm concerned that we're voting on something that's already passed, but,
Well, we did not execute against it because it had
got
not
it, thank you.
passed.
Okay,
Yes.
that's the question I was
Yep.
looking for. Thank you. All right, so no more questions for that. 831 has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of passing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 832, Alderman Suffernan.
Item A32 is ordinance 99018, amending Class K liquor license to decrease the permitted volume of wine for off-premise consumption, permit alcoholic spirit tasting, and increase the permitted volume of beer for consumption on site. This is for introduction and action at the request of Alderman Ravel.
All right, second. See no lights for questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'm at 833, Alderman Braithwaite.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item A33, ordinance 101-0-18, amending the Class U liquor license permitted hours of sale of alcohol liquor and eliminating the restriction of the sale of alcohol to the lobby. And this one is also for introduction and action.
All right, I can second that one. See no lights for questions. All those in favor of passing 833, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 834 is ordinance 100-0-18, proposed modifications to City Code Section 10-11-6, Schedule 6, snow routes and snow emergency regulations contained in Section 10-4-13. The staff is recommending we adopt this ordinance. This is updating and modifying the city code to match our current snow route map and existing snow route signage, including towing and parking bans. This is for introduction. All right, seeing no lights for questions, all those in favor of moving 834, please say aye.
Have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. The second? Okay, Alderman Braithwaite, second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so now we have one item for consideration. We have 4 speakers. I will call you up, and we have 3 minutes per person. The first one is, actually, should I move it first? I'm sorry, okay, so let me move it. A34, I'm sorry, it's APW 1. So I don't have to move it? Well, I'll introduce it. I'll introduce it, okay. This is an item for discussion. This is a, how do you pronounce it? Aruv? Aruv. I hope that was correct. District expansion. All right, so Mary Bishop is our first speaker.
I'd like to speak after a couple other people because I have not been able to attend the prior meeting. And it's my understanding we're waiting for some kind of clarification on that.
All right, Mary, well, I will call you at the end then, Mary. All right, so Sam Everbach? Sam, there's no Sam here? All right. Okay.
Given the time, do we have a time limit on our speakers?
Yes, we have 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sam Averbach. Nice to meet you. Just briefly, the Eruv is a religious way for Jewish people to be able to walk and carry for the Sabbath. So without one, I have a family of 5. We can't use strollers to get to our synagogue. So this would be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Daniel Cedarbaum. Okay. Andrea London.
Hi, my name is Andrea London. I'm the rabbi of Beth Emet Synagogue here in Evanston and have spoken about the Eruv proposal before. As the last speaker had said, the Eruv is something that's important for the religious community so that they can carry and use strollers on the Sabbath. The Eruv is really a series of walls and other things that are created to make sure that we can have a contiguous area. The proposal has come before several different committees, and the Jewish community has worked very hard to make sure that anything that would be put up in Evanston would be aesthetically pleasing, that there wouldn't be anything that we would do to the community that would not be along the lakefront, as some have been concerned about. And any areas in which something might be put up at a private home, obviously that person would be contacted as well. We've been really working with the city for a number of years now on this, and I also represent the Evanston Interfaith Clergy and Leaders that have all unanimously come to support this as a religious freedom issue, and we really want to be able to push this forward with the city and be able to get the city approval and be able to put this up. All of the money for putting up the Eruv, any of the parts of this will be completely absorbed by the Jewish community. There will be no cost incurred by the city of Evanston. And again, the Jewish community wants to work with the city to make sure that everything that is done is aesthetically pleasing and that nobody will be bothered by what is done. As has been mentioned, this is for religious purposes, and as I said, I think this is a religious freedom issue, and we are getting a little frustrated that it's been stalled for quite a long time, and we would like to move this forward. And as I said, the community really wants to work with the city to do whatever we can to make sure that the city is comfortable with anything that goes up in the city. Nothing would be put up without having the approval of the city.
Okay, thank you.
Just a question for the Rabbi. I think it might be helpful. I recall the conversation, but I don't have a clear, vivid memory. So maybe we have 3 new members of council that, depending unless residents have reached out to you, this would be a new conversation to them. So I think it would be helpful for you to describe the physical ask of what your community is requesting, to give them and myself a refresher idea of what you're asking.
And we do have we do have a full presentation that shows absolutely everything with the map, and we did not bring that whole presentation with us that has been presented. But I will just, in short, there has to be a contiguous enclosed area, and that can be enclosed through fences, through the rocks that are along the beach, for example, that becomes an enclosed area, the snow fences and other places. And there are a few different places in which we'd have to put up a wire or a pole in order to create a contiguous loop that would be considered to be an Eruv. The concept is that on the Sabbath or on the holidays, we're not allowed to carry outside of our own domain. And when we create this contiguous area, then we extend the domain of our house out into the community. And so what we are proposing is several different poles and some wires that need to go up in order to create this, and also to support some of the fencing, the snow fencing that is down at the beach. There is already in Evanston, in the south part of Evanston, there is an Eruv. Probably nobody's ever seen it. You don't notice it. Sometimes there's a wire that's up quite high to create this contiguous loop, and that's connected to the Rogers Park Eruv. And so this would be continuing the Eruv up until the canal, west, which would be then connected up with Skokie. So it's already in Skokie. We have there's an Eruv there, and then north as well.
Thank you.
So that's in short, but we do have a really full presentation. I think that what the Jewish community is saying here is we really want you to support this here, and we are committed to working with the city to make sure that it's aesthetically pleasing and that the city does not incur any costs for this.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to the next speaker. It is Shalom Hechet. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly.
Thank you. Shalom Hecht. I am one of the rabbis at the Chabad here in Evanston. I'll be really brief. One of the things that creates a welcoming environment in a community is the ability for everyone to be able to live in a way that they can easily express their faith. And Evanston prides itself more than any other city that I've ever come across in diversity for all elements, racial diversity, religious diversity, and to be able to be welcoming and accepting of everyone. And the Eruv is something that is an absolute necessity for the growth of the religious Jewish community here in Evanston. One of the things that is causing the slow growth is because people are hesitating to move here, since on the Sabbath it'll be a great inconvenience for them to be able to come with their families, especially young children, to Sabbath. My wife, we have little children at home, 2 babies. Every Sabbath we have a babysitter so that my wife can go to synagogue. If there was an Eruv, potentially we'd be able to bring those children along with us to synagogue. So please consider this, and hopefully you'll be able to give your recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Simon?
Good evening. I'm Michael Simon. I'm the Executive Director of the Hillel at Northwestern University, which is the Center for Jewish Life on campus. I'm also a resident of Evanston, so I count in both of those boxes. I just wanted to also express Hillel, the Jewish community, the student community's support of an Eruv for a lot of the reasons that have already been expressed. Hillel is the center of Jewish life, and we represent kind of the pluralistic extremes from everybody who doesn't really observe any sort of religious practice Jewishly to all the way to being very observant. And as was mentioned earlier, we have had not a growth in the more religious part of our community, and it's really something that feels lacking in terms of being a broad and diverse Jewish community. And part of the reason for that, as opposed to other communities of our size, is that we lack an Eruv, a place, this line which enables students and other residents to be able to carry on the Sabbath. And this is something that we believe will impact positively the Jewish community, and we also think that it will be, as was mentioned a moment ago, an expression of the diversity of our community in general, and something that we support very strongly. Last thing I'll mention, I don't know if there's anyone else here who's representing Northwestern University, but as an affiliate and as connected with the chaplains of the university, we have the support of the university administration, and we've been working with them closely because part of the Eruv would extend onto the university campus, and they've been in full support. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rabbi Klein. Yep, that's you.
Okay, thank you so much. I got to wish everyone a happy New Year. This is the Jewish New Year season, and I know you guys are cramped for time, but I've been in so many of these meetings that they've always gone over, and I'm a rabbi, and how do we just say something just in a couple of minutes? So you've heard a lot. Again, one of the most important things I think is how many of you knew that there was actually an Eruv in Evanston? Public Works did not know that there was an Eruv in Evanston. The Eruv in Evanston has been here for 25 years. People don't see it. People don't notice it. And we have that Eruv because of Ann Rainey, who is in California today, at a funeral for the young Northwestern student who passed away, or was shot and killed. But Ann Rainey, when I spoke to her in 2015, she said this is a no-brainer. She led the charge 25 years ago, and she definitely wants to see this Eruv go up. And she's kind of like surprised. She told me just a couple of weeks ago that it hasn't been approved yet. What are we waiting for? What I wanted to mention is that all of my colleagues and community members that are here today has already mentioned, I think, the importance of having this enclosure. It gives mobility to people, but also for our elderly in Evanston. It's very difficult to be stuck in your home for an entire 24-hour period. It's very difficult to have to figure out who is going to go pray. Can I take a baseball with me to the park so my kid can play a little bit on the Sabbath? Can I walk over to the beach and just enjoy the sunshine with my entire family in the summer? And that becomes somewhat difficult, and if we don't have an Eruv. One of the interesting things is, the barometer today in America for a strong and an inviting Jewish community is whether or not there's an Eruv in your community. So one of the things that hasn't been mentioned is that Chicago West Rogers Park has an Eruv, Chicago Peterson Park has an Eruv, Chicago Lakeview has an Eruv, Chicago Bucktown has an Eruv, Skokie, Lincolnwood, Buffalo Grove, Highland Park, Northbrook, Deerfield, Wilmette. Usually we are we set the trend throughout the suburbs, but we're a little bit behind in the trend. And what we're trying to do is to extend that Eruv that already exists, so it encompasses the majority of Evanston. It was already mentioned that the faith communities all signed up and understanding that this is something that impacts not only the Jewish community, but the entire community here in Evanston. And I think it's also very, very important to point out that it also brings we found statistically that it brings stability to a community as well. Now, there are a lot of details. I think that's in your packet in terms of where the Eruv actually is. And as Rabbi London pointed out, all of the locations that the Eruv will be going up in will match exactly what's there. So it's it's not really going to be noticed. I also wanted to make mention of the fact that we've met with citizens. We've met with different aldermen who they felt was also a little more effective. They reached out to us. We've had we had a citywide meeting and a ward meeting. Some issues were brought up. There was brought up about the aesthetics of how it was going to look near the golf course, and we hired an architect in order to be able to deal with that aesthetics, and that's gone. That's not an issue. When we were dealing with the lakefront itself, one of the members who came to, everybody seemed to be excited about it at the meeting. One person said, hey, how is it going to work in terms of the boat ramp? Well, because you have the mask, that issue was taken care of. Every issue that's been brought to our Eruv committee, we have really addressed very well, and those issues have been taken care of. Last but not least, as we were at the first board meeting, there was a woman who got up and she said, and made a simple comment, which was, if I'm understanding what an Eruv means, meaning what we're making from the public domain into a private domain, does that really mean that Evanston becomes one large family and that we all become unified by this Eruv? And I said, you got it. That's what an Eruv does. It brings the whole community together. And I hope that this item will go beyond just a discussion, and maybe you can move it to action so we can move forward to get to the city council so we can get a full approval. Thank you. Any questions for me?
No, thank you.
Okay.
All right, Mary Bishop, do you want to use your 3 minutes now?
Yes. Very well said. A number of points from our rather large representation. It is an issue of diversity, and it is an issue of personal freedom in a way. People have cited their own family structures. We have 16 grandchildren. The importance of building a faith within your own family is that you can take your family anywhere. Imagine if you had a picnic and you couldn't take your 2-year-olds on it because they might tire and you push them in a carriage. That's a kind of restriction, real life restriction that we can face that would be solved immediately. I'd like you to become our advocates. You seem like a very strong committee, a committee that understands the importance of these issues. Why can't you walk out of here and say, this 5-year, 6-year quest of the Jewish community to have this very simple thing, why can't it come to an end? This could be resolved, I am sure, it could be resolved in a month. I'll give you an example that my husband, Eli Wolf, reminded me of, which is in a majority black, by the way, city, Washington, D.C. The Jewish community there many years ago wanted to have an Eruv installed, and it was kind of meandering around in this same kind of keep postponing it, bring it to someone else's attention, push it under the rug for a while, and finally a very powerful advocate came forward for it. We're a Democratic town, but this happened to be a Republican president, George Herbert Walker Bush, Sr., came to the defense of this in a matter of, I think, a couple weeks, had it up and running, and not only that, made sure that one of the points it was fastened to was the Washington Monument. If that can be done, we can do some equal thing that requires none of that, no one that big to make it happen. This very committee, I believe, could make it happen by carrying it forward for us. Thank you.
All right, so to clarify, this is on our agenda for a discussion. So, yeah, just as a discussion. Yes. All right, so if I may have the city manager come up, please, or our staff who's present to speak on this. So looking in our packet, I see that initially the initial document went in, I guess the initial area went in 1992, and then from these comments, it sounds like we haven't really decided what's happening next. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Ms. Richardson's here and ready to give a more extensive report, but let me at least give some general overview. As some have indicated through their comments, there has been an E-Roof in South Evanston for a long time. And when Rabbi Klein and representatives of the Evanston Jewish community came forward looking at the E-Roof extending it citywide, again, there was a general agreement that this was a good idea. Unfortunately, what we've discovered over the last many months is the details associated with this in some parts of the community are more challenging than others. And so we have been working primarily with the 3 ward aldermen whose wards cover the eastern part of Evanston, Alderman Fisk, Alderman Revelle, and Alderman Wynn, to look specifically how we can accomplish this, again, in the very northeast corner of Evanston and then along through the lakefront. And that's really been, I think, the issues of most concern. The E-Roof boundaries exist through South Evanston, moving up the western boundaries. Some of that also has existed previously. The remainder through the western boundaries of the city is pretty straightforward. In some cases, an E-Roof needs some sort of wire. In other cases, it can use existing structures or existing natural features as the boundary. And so in the south and in the west parts of Evanston, that's been pretty straightforward. It has really been, again, in the far northeast corner and then along the lakefront where the issues have been. So we have tried diligently to come to agreement in those areas. I think we have made some progress. I don't know that we are completely there, but that's where the issues reside, that the Jewish community would like to have the boundaries of the E-Roof go as far east as possible so that members of the Jewish community can access and enjoy the lakefront, and that has been the biggest issue. What we have in your packet, and I imagine we probably have, do we have the ability to put up on the screen, Ms. Richardson, the segments? I'll just refer you to the segments that are in your packet. So the leadership of the Jewish community that's been working on this has done extensive work. There's photo simulations for the various areas, but it's been those areas along the lakefront and again in far northeast Evanston where there have been the issues. So we wanted to move this forward, wanted to get some advice from the committee as what are appropriate next steps. I believe the ward Alderman Wynn is here, Alderman Revelle is here, I believe Alderman Fisk is elsewhere in the building. We have worked diligently with them, and there are still some locations that we have not been able to come up with a solution that the ward aldermen believe meet the community needs, but we've not stopped. And as Rabbi Klein has mentioned, this has been a long period of time. The rabbi and representatives of the Jewish community met with myself and Mayor Haggerty a few months ago, and it was Mayor Haggerty's desire to see this item move forward, hence the reason we're here this evening.
Right. So I guess I'll just give my 2 cents, being that the ask is not for an E-Roof in my ward particularly, but you say there's one in South Evanston. I've never noticed it, so it clearly is not disrupting my day. And being that I appreciate the work of the JRC, which I understand in my community, unfortunately, based on discrimination, was placed there because that's where Jewish people were initially allowed to live in the city of Evanston. So that being said, I would support, this expansion of the E-Roof. As the city manager said, however, it seems like there's some work to be done in other parts of the city of which I am not, I would say, at liberty to speak of, because I don't know what the requests have been there on the lakefront in terms of putting one in, but I definitely would support the continuation of this. I think I need to just take my own field trip to see what it looks like now, and maybe even looking at some of the pictures you have proposed there to go there. I think the only thing that concerned me a little bit, and I'm sure you've already thought through this, was the one that needed to go across the bridge at the golf course. I'm just not sure of the ownership, if that's us, if that's MWRDE, but I'm sure you all have already talked through that. So from me, there is no hesitation in moving forward with this. It seems like from what you've communicated, this has been a long process, and I am one for efficient city government, but I guess I would just encourage you all having more conversation with those 3 aldermen that that the city manager mentioned, to see how you can work through. I don't know if it makes sense for you to move forward, and maybe decreasing some locations. Again, I'm not an expert, or bringing it over further, maybe off the sand or so forth, if that would allow you to move forward a little faster. But anyway, so I don't object to this, but I also don't have the authority to say where they should go outside of my ward, because I don't know what the concerns are of those aldermen offhand. And it looks like I have another Alderman Simmons.
Yep. Thank you. I support it as well. I do have some questions. Does it go through DAPR? I mean, it may be a silly question, but in terms of us understanding how it could interrupt city services or safety, and I ask that only because emails most recently have been about safety concerns at the lakefront and sailboats. So is there a process or a committee that it goes through to ensure safety?
Again, this is a one-of-a-kind type of issue. I don't believe that there was that type of review initially. I mean, certainly if it's this committee's desire to have DAPR take a look at that, we can certainly do that. We have been very mindful of the safety issues. I too have seen some emails today raising some issues that, I've been working with Ms. Richardson on this issue for 3 years plus now, which I had not seen raised before. So, Madam Chair, if you, maybe once you're done with comments, I've got some ideas of what some possible next steps could be, and one of those could very well be having DAPR weigh in, especially in those particular segments, I think, where there's issues. The vast majority of what's being proposed, I think very early on, staff and affected aldermen really felt there was no issue. It's really, probably 6, 8, 10 of the segments, again, along the northeastern boundaries and along the lakefront that are the issues. So maybe if we're able to narrow down which segments remain the issues, maybe that's the best way, and then ultimately come back to this committee and say, here are the segments we've not been able to come to some agreement with, and then, at some point the council is going to have to make a decision.
Right. Alderman, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like, if there's unlikely to be any issue, I would prefer that it does go through DAPR and whatever appropriate committee, so that we can put the ease of the residents that are concerned about safety.
Certainly.
Alderman Braithwaite.
No, I was just also going to weigh in and provide my support to something that's real, seems obvious and like a no-brainer. Is the only recommendation to encourage the city manager to continue to work with the group, and then when you have something significant to report, to come back to the committee?
Well, I think that Alderman Simmons' suggestion in terms of
I think it would include,
DAPR.
if that's part of the process, that it would go through that. So sounds like there's still some work that needs to be
Right. I guess my assumption was you were going to continue. I mean, you've been working with them for this long, so you're at kind of a little bit of a...
Well, all the employee members of the committee, I'm looking to the committee as well as some guidance.
Right. So I would suggest that it also go to DAPR. You go with what we have now as you continue to work through these areas that are a little bit of an unknown. If DAPR has a safety recommendation or concern, we can address that. If not, and you're at an impasse, you can maybe come back with an alternative to the map that we have now, highlighting where the impasse is, and if there's other locations that would be supplies for the Jewish community if we can't get past, where our sticking points.
And perhaps I can, just for the audiences, the DAPR we're referring to is our Design and Project Review Committee, which is charged with looking at safety design issues for proposed development. So if we were to looking at the ERIB as in essence a proposed development, I think it's very appropriate to do that. So perhaps what we could do, Alderman Fleming, members of the committee, is, and Ms. Richardson, please stop me if this doesn't sound correct, but to continue to work with the advocates, the ward aldermen, over the next 30 days or so, try to identify those unresolved issues. Again, as many have said tonight, this issue has lingered, so I think putting some urgency to it and putting some dates to it, I think will help bring it to resolution. So if we say the next 30 days or so, we would conclude those discussions, understand what points are still unresolved, go to DAPR with those unresolved points, see if there is recommendations from DAPR, and then come back to this committee perhaps sometime in, let's see, that would take us to probably the first part of November, with at least an update of the report from DAPR, and then if there are other remaining issues.
Alderman Simmons.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we are forcing the calendar at this point. They've waited long enough, so next available committee meetings and appropriate council meetings, if we could move forward.
Sure, and I think if we can get on a DAPR, I don't know if the developer is still in the room.
Okay, can we, I'm sorry, we're done with public comment.
We can certainly do that, and I think try to be a DAPR sometime during the month of October, and then come back to this committee with a report. Ms. Richardson, again, Ms. Richardson has been the lead staff on this, working with community groups, working with the Jewish community, working with the various wards. I want to thank her for her diligence through all this. Ms. Richardson, does that sound like a reasonable approach?
I believe so. I'll continue to work with the committee to revise the plan, because as it's written or as it's currently shown, it does not address some of those concerns that have been discussed by Rabbi Klein. So we'll make sure that's updated, and then we'll take it to DAPR.
Yeah, so when it comes back to us, I guess I would ask if it could come back for an action item, whether it's with a recommendation or not from DAPR, so that we can move past the discussion.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. All right, so no further items for discussion. Do you have any communications? No communications? Go ahead.
I move that we adjourn.
Second. All right, so we are going to be adjourning the APW meeting. P&D will start 45?
10 minutes.
In 10 minutes, so that is about 7:45.